Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Macabre Matinee. And if I am not wrong, this is episode 17.
I believe
Uh,
that's right.
As always, I am Craig Lance,
And I'm Sean, bearded Capulet.
and it is time for our obligatory spoiler warning. We are going to be discussing Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. So if you haven't seen it, pause us, go watch it, come back and listen in as we ramble on about this 10-star rated movie we're about to discuss.
Absolute masterpiece of cinema.
Yeah. So this one was released in 1989. It was written by John Skipp, Craig Spector, and Leslie Boehm. Although there's some controversy about the credits on this. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Directed by Stephen Hopkins. And returning as Freddy is, of course, Robert Englund. Also returning are Lisa Wilcox as Alice and Danny Hassel as Dan, and no one else really matters. This is a direct sequel to The Dream Master, which, if you want our opinions on that, go listen to last week's episode. And this one opens with Alice taking a shower, and she is about to drown. She busts out of the shower and finds herself naked and afraid in the asylum with Amanda Kruger, where she gets to watch the horrors that brought about the creation of Freddy, with the who knows how many maniacs all raping Amanda Kruger.
Wonderful way. Wonderful opener.
Yeah. That day, Alice and Dan and the new victims all graduate high school. We find out that Alice's dad is a changed man after the events of the last movie. He is taken up sobriety and is actually being a kind person now. As the group decides to have a pool party for graduation, Alice has to head to work, and on the way to work, she is pulled into a dream while awake. In the dream, she finds Amanda Kruger and watches as she gives birth in a very alien type of way. Baby Freddy takes off, and Alice follows him to the chapel where she killed him in the last movie. Baby Freddy begins morphing and returns as adult Freddy. Amanda shows up and saves Alice, telling Alice to free her from her prison, whatever that means. Alice wakes up to find out that she has lost 4 hours of her life, and she calls Dan from the party to come get her. And on his way to pick her up, he falls asleep, and Freddy does his thing. Alice watches as he dies in a fire. I guess a flaming wreck maybe would be a better way to put it.
Yeah.
And she passes out. She awakens in the hospital to find out that not only is Dan dead, but she is also pregnant. Of course, none of the new friends believe Alice. Well, at least until Freddy starts killing them, that is. Alice can't figure out how Freddy is drawing everyone into his world without her doing it for him, because if you remember from the previous movie, the only way he can kill people now is for Alice to draw them into the world.
Yeah.
But what she finally realizes is that Jacob, her baby, is dreaming, and he being Freddy, is using Jacob to draw people into Alice's dreams while she's awake. It's very confusing and at all completely unclear, and as is most of the script.
Right.
She also realizes she's been seeing Jacob in her dreams, and that Freddy is corrupting him and transferring the souls of the people he kills into Jacob, so that Jacob will become more like Freddy. Apparently, that's Freddy's goal. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't think the writers knew. Eventually, we are left with only Yvonne and Alice, who realize in order to beat Freddy, they need to free Amanda. Yvonne goes to the tower where Amanda died to release her soul, while Alice battles Freddy, trying to save Jacob in the meantime. Jacob watches on as Freddy seems to get the best of Alice, and in the meantime, Yvonne gets to the top of the tower, breaks into the room where Amanda's dead body is, and somehow touching her skeleton that is somehow still in a kneeling position, um, releases Amanda's soul. We're just going to say, okay, go on.
Yeah, basically.
So Amanda now is able to come to Alice and Jacob's aid, telling Jacob that he must use the power Freddy gave him to save Alice. Jacob kills Freddy, and they are both split back into separate baby bodies for reasons. Amanda absorbs Freddy's baby body back into her, and Alice absorbs Jacob back into her. 9 months later, Jacob is a baby, and all seems well except for the creepy jump roper singing the Freddy nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
So that is the quick synopsis of this movie. It's pretty quick because, once again, there's not a whole lot to talk about in this movie.
Really,
as far as
like,
plot goes,
yeah.
Other than just the nightmare that it is.
Yeah, like the big thing coming from this film is apparently don't have sex in a horror film, because it opens with sex, and then the entire story is a pregnant baby dream is bringing Freddy back. That's the best I got.
Yeah, and so the weird thing about that dream is that it wasn't even Dan in the dream.
Yeah.
So, very weird, very lots of weirdness. There were some creepy moments in the movie. I'll give it. The scene in the asylum when she's following the what do you call it? The cart with Amanda on it, right? She's following that. They're taking Amanda to give birth, and it is a very kind of nightmarish scene. Probably the best scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. It's the most like surreal and like a creepy delivery leading to was one of the most horrific things I've seen in the franchise is Baby Freddy.
Right.
And not necessarily because it's scary. It just looks so bad, as well as like the concept itself is pretty damn terrible.
Yeah.
And then like so we have like that. We have one creepy scene. And again, we know 90% of the cast of these movies are just disposable victims, but these ones are just unfucking bearable. Like, there's not a single one of them I like. The only one who like you would think, knowing our history and interests, we'd be fans of Mark, who I've dubbed one of the lost founders of Image Comics. With his, even though this is 1989, his 90s as fuck hero with the mechanical gun enhancement and a giant fucking crosshair. He's everything you think of when you think about 90s extreme comic. And he has a fear of blood that they establish really quickly into as his character, which that's how Freddy's gonna mess with him, right? And then when we actually get into his final sequence where we get some blood dripping on him, doesn't even react.
Yeah.
It doesn't even. It doesn't even factor in. Instead, we get Super Freddy, right after skateboarding Freddy, by the way.
And the kill of cutting him up like he's paper mache or piece of paper. And just so a lot of things fell flat in this movie. The kills fall flat in this movie. The one-liners are definitely bad in this movie. And not just like campy bad like they were in the previous movies, where they were intended to be campy.
Right.
They just don't hit in this movie at all, even on a punny kind of level.
Yeah. There's not even a so bad as good kind of moments for it. And then, like the big kicker, and this might be me, and you know what? This person, I'm sure, is a lovely human being. I'm going to assume. I'm sure I know they had a great career as a child actor, which is very tough. But fucking, is it the kid Jacob, that the kid?
Jacob. Yeah.
Jacob? That's the creepiest fucking kid I've ever seen. And they
So
describe. Yeah.
they did do a good job with his scenes. I'll give them credit for that.
No, no, yeah, he acted fine, but like, remember when she describes like the kid when she first gets the first vision of him in the hospital? Like, have you seen
Right.
the kid with the sad eyes? Well, sad is definitely
Yeah.
one way of describing this kid's eyes. And whether it's and I know I've seen him in other films, and that's just how he looks. I'm sure he's sweet as hell, but I'm like, my God, kid. But he's actually for as young as he is, and for what he's working with, I think he actually was one of the better actors in this film.
Yeah. The scenes with him in them were fairly creepy. As per usual, they spend a lot of time back at Nancy's old house.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is the last movie that takes place in Springfield, to be honest with you. Um, I am so tired of Nancy's house.
Well, yeah,
Um,
you're gonna get a road trip in the next film, but it ain't much better.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll get to that later.
Um, yeah, so apparently they were only given 4 weeks to shoot this film and
Yeah,
another 4 weeks to edit this film. And man, does it ever show.
right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The director impressed the studio so much. Man, I did not write it down, but he actually got another job, a job for
You
directing
got
another film.
Predator 2.
Predator 2, thank you. Okay, you paid attention.
Yeah.
Based just on how fast he is able to pump this movie out. And like, and here's the thing too. Here's
Yeah.
like we always talk about how a chopping block, what ends up on the cutting room floor, can improve a
Yeah.
film. I truly believe it in this one. I read there were like the much more graphic kills were all edited out to get it to the R rating as well as to speed up the movie. And apparently, it only exists in VHS. So I'm sure it's rare and expensive as hell to find. But there is an unrated version out there.
Wow, I want to see that movie because
Yeah,
it really needed whatever they cut out of it to avoid an X rating, is what it said, which to
yeah,
me, for those young ones out there, an X rating is what we now call NC-17.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, movies avoided it at all costs back in the day.
All right, like
So
one example I remember top of my head because there was some details about what all was happened, but the scene where he's overfeeding the forgettable name teenager who wants to her to be
Greta,
a model, Greta. Thank you.
yeah,
Apparently, at one point, like he feeds her, and then she looks down to see what he's feeding her, and it's her own intestines.
oh nice. That would have been nice.
Right, and which is also why in Mark's dream, when her blood is what's dripping, and he suddenly doesn't react to blood,
Yeah,
it's from her stomach. That's what originally it was because of. So
gotcha. Well,
that
that makes a lot more sense.
yeah, and the other like kills were also a lot more graphic. Which again, as we say, weak plot and weak characters can be made up in horror movies, often for creative or even sometimes graphic kills. At least it elicits an emotion out of us.
Can we get a graphic kill for the paper being cut up that kills Mark?
I want to say it was something along the lines of like he still like sliced him up in paper, but you actually saw like the results of
His
that in his flesh form. So
See that?
yeah,
Yeah, anything. I mean, this movie lacked just about everything,
yeah,
in my opinion. Um, it's rumored that they tried to get King or Frank Miller from. I mean, Frank Miller
yeah,
from Sin City and so forth. Now to write this movie, both of them turned them down.
yeah.
They should have tried harder to get either one of them.
I mean, either one of them could have pumped out at least better than what we got. But again, like you had mentioned, there were like 8 writers, all, and some of them aren't even fully credited because like I know one of the writers fought to get paid for it because they literally didn't keep anything from the script except Freddie announcing it's a boy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he got his writing credit, and it's literally the only thing they used. It was a lot of rewrites, a lot of edits, rush production, and it showed. It showed to be a very unenjoyable movie, and also the official lowest grossing film in the franchise.
And for some reason, Robert Englund still considers this one a success.
Well, he had fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. With his arm detached and hanging tied in a knot on one arm, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wish I had more positive to talk about. There is one cool little cameo in this.
Oh,
In Mark's room, what I don't know if you noticed this or not, but they flash to a television talk show that's on, late night talk show,
yeah, yeah.
and he says something about the band members calling them degenerates or
Right.
whatever. One of the band members is none other than Eric Singer, the drummer for Kiss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just for a little cameo there.
Yeah,
Uh,
I figured they had to be something to kind of have justify the camera really showing that talk show that did, 'cause, like last time we had a talk show, Freddie appeared as the host and killed Zsa Zsa Gabor. So like, with it being nothing but showing the band, I figured one of them or the band themselves had to be somebody, but I had no idea.
yeah, that was the cameo that I saw in the movie. Here's the deal. This
Yeah,
plot actually had some potential.
yeah,
It really did. It was an interesting way to, because after the last movie, the events of the last movie,
yeah,
all Alice had to do was avoid thinking about Freddy to ever bring him back. He was gone. He was done. Um, but for him to essentially be hiding within her, waiting for the opportune moment,
right,
is the way it's portrayed. And then to use an unborn child is that way is really kind of a good way to bring him back.
right.
Um, they just, I don't know if it was the rewrites or what about it, but it really just kind of falls flat just about everywhere. Like I said, there's some good suspenseful scenes though. The early scenes, of course, are the best for whatever reason.
Right.
Um, Alice's body double walking through the asylum.
Right.
The beginning part where you see the nightmare that Amanda has to live when she becomes pregnant, then seeing Amanda giving birth, as we talked about earlier, probably the two best scenes in the movie. um, Certainly, there was no suspense, in my opinion, when it came to the kills of the friends.
Oh, and I mean, not only were they, like I said, the good parts apparently left on cutting room floor, there's only, I believe, 3 kills in the entire film.
Yeah,
Which this franchise doesn't necessarily always have a high body count, but when you're delivering lackluster ones, the few that you get, you kind of feel it a bit more, I think. But
yeah, for sure.
at the same time, there's potential in what, like the motorcycle kill. After they talked about, he got that need for speed. It was a kind of a callback to that getting turned into like a cyborg was interesting. And
Yeah,
the model being overfed because her mother's constantly worried about life, and even the cheesy comic book thing, like the themes were there, which we've talked about in previous films. What was usually
right.
cool about Nightmare is that the kills are unique to the person. The problem is apparently they had to cut them down, and what was left was very forgettable.
Yeah. There's honestly, we're doing our best right now to pull out anything good about it.
It's the best I got. Like
Yeah,
good intentions, some decent ideas, poor execution.
yeah.
Just yeah.
I thought Alice was pretty good again. Lisa Wilcox as Alice, I thought she did an admirable. I can't say that word. She
Word.
did a decent job
Yes.
as Alice again.
Right.
Um, uh, she looked more like a movie star in this one than she did in the previous one, and I'm sure that was intentional.
Right.
Um, you know, so as far as the acting goes, not horrible in this one from the main star, anyways. Um, but I felt like Robert England was even a little flat in this movie.
Right. Even though, like I said, he praises the film, but then again, when you're pimping your franchise, you're not gonna be like, yeah,
Right.
I did a shitty one this time. But like, yeah, his line delivery was flat. Like I don't, and again, when you rush a film, when a film is being
Yep.
done, like you said, 4 weeks of filming and then there's 4 weeks of editing. That's nothing.
And and during that 4 weeks, you're rewriting the film
Yeah,
while you're filming it. So
absolutely.
this film had everything going against it, and it showed. Just because New Line, just felt like they had to get a movie out every year. They wanted a movie every year. It seems like, and they
Right.
rushed it. Um, this was apparently the first year that you had a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, a Friday the 13th movie, and a Halloween movie all released in the same year.
Right.
And none of them were that great.
It was not the best era because I do remember seeing that too, and it was Jason Takes Manhattan for the Friday franchise, and I don't
Yeah,
remember which
and
Halloween it was.
Return of Michael Myers.
Again, all like we'll get to those eventually because they all blended. A lot of those sequels blend into me, so I don't even remember which one that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the fourth one.
Ah, okay, okay. Hey,
Yeah. So yeah, we could continue to beat on it, or we can just wrap it up.
I mean, we can't force ourselves. Like, we're not here to shit on the film, but we can only work with what's given to us, and without just sitting there going every single scene, tearing apart the bad acting, the lack of care for the characters. We could do that for another 40 minutes and give y'all the normal length. But you know what? Honestly, yeah. I mean, I don't want to sit here and just shit on it. We've complimented it
Yeah.
as best we can. I did pick
I,
a kill of the movie, even though there's only three mediocre ones to choose from.
okay, go ahead with your kill.
The motorcycle one.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought the effects of as he became a again weird idea, but like I gotta admit though, like his final form before crashing to death, with all the electronics wrapped around him, it was kind of a
Yeah.
cool image. I like that. And of course, the callback to what they told him at the graduation with Freddy's face forming out of looking like a better transformer than Michael Bay ever gave us. talking, oh, you got the need for speed. Okay, that's a decent. It's a throwback. It's a reference. It's
It,
specific to him. I give it that
yeah,
one.
it just had about four one-liners too many in that kill. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you don't have a whole lot to choose from. I went with Greta's kill,
right,
the model that he overfed till she died.
right.
Looked like they changed it from her intestines to a baby doll's intestines. Yeah, very
Something.
weird. It was,
Yeah,
yeah, the effects are a little shitty. Overall, it was a pretty decent kill,
right.
and yeah. So what did you rate this one based on all of that?
So of course, while I was trying to think about this, like, okay, is this worse than part two? Or is it just try a bit harder and not succeed? So how do I rank that? Because right now we have two is the worst. I don't think this is worse than two. So I gave it 2 stars, which I'm pretty sure I gave lower on part two. Good ideas that were not executed well.
Yeah, so I I gave it a one.
Right.
I thought it actually was worse than two, and in my opinion, quite a bit worse than two. But that's just me.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I didn't rate it lower is because I know we still have some gyms ahead of us.
Oh yes.
So you gave it a two, I gave it a one, so it's a three total. Putting it at the low end of the spectrum for now.
Right.
And I say for now because I know what's coming.
Oh yeah.
Well, that way to pimp our show, right? Come back next week for more crappy review.
Hey, look, no, now we're being fair. Yeah, we could sit
Right.
here. We know our audience knows now that if we'll talk as good as we can about it, but we're doing franchise reviews. They're not all going to be
That's right.
gold, so we're
Yeah, and
keeping it real.
and if you think this is good, wait till we get to Leprechaun.
Oh, look, those are cinematic masterpieces, good sir.
Um, I mean, I'll be honest. I find most of them more enjoyable than what I just watched.
Yeah.
So
So see, like,
yeah,
Well, like I said, when we get to the weird, when we get to the the really offbeat shit, we're gonna really. I think that's where a lot of I think people are gonna be surprised what we can what we enjoy. We've had plenty of discussions
Yeah,
before we made this show about like the weird and the bad films that we can still find enjoyment in. Because even if a film is weirdly or badly done, but you can feel the heart in it, you feel like, hey, look, this came out shit, but they were trying their best.
right.
You can find that enjoyment. This is just a big studio flop, so there wasn't a whole lot for us to find love in. But sometimes those
That
other
is
ones,
correct.
yeah. So don't get it wrong, y'all. Even though we're going to be coming to some shitters, you never know what we might find some enjoyment in.
And we are going to take a little bit of a break from franchises after we finish A Nightmare on Elm Street and
Right.
go do some maybe some interconnected films, either by studio or by director, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, get into some stuff that is maybe probably well known, but still not talked about nearly as much as what I call the big three or four.
Right.
Which in horror, of course, is Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
You kind of get away from those four a little bit and get into some other things. We're going to take, like I said, take a pause. We'll come back to the other big two later. I think you and I are just to the point we want to talk about some other things a little bit, and
For sure. It'll
yeah.
whether it
So,
be. Oh, sorry. I was say like whether it'll
no,
be maybe a few themed movies that don't have a franchise to it. Some similar
that's right.
in horror style or like you said, directorial. So yeah, we'll be still kind of doing a series of movies that are kind of similar, but maybe not in a connected franchise. We know we had talked about that, or just one off. Maybe just a few one-off
Yeah.
movies. There's a lot to look forward to.
Maybe.
We have a ton of horror movies that we love to talk about, and some we've never seen. There will be new movies still coming, like we did The Empty Man. So yeah, don't let us shit on this movie and inevitably the next couple maybe deter you. We promise there's still going to be some great horror videos, and we hope you're still enjoying even when we are just hey, look, I know some of y'all hate this movie too, so you got to at least be in agreement with us.
Yeah, and tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah.
Let us know. If you love this movie, you probably need to get your pulse checked because something ain't right with you. But if you love this movie and we're just wrong, let us know. We want to hear that stuff.
I would love to hear someone's defense of this film.
Yeah, I bet I know somebody that will, and that's our buddy Kevin.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm
We'll
just going
find
to
out.
throw it out there and see if he says anything about it.
Well, there's your shout out, Kevin. You better be listening. But all right, that's gonna do it for this week. Thank y'all once again for listening to us. Ramble and rant and shit and love and hate and all that good stuff. Horror movies. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Let us know. Are we wrong? Are we right? Let us know in the comments. And yeah, we'll catch y'all next time.
See you next week.